you? Wow, wow, wow. I thought I'd never get my hands on you. I just have to stand back now and take you in. Rides. 1,200 rides. Lads, after 2 years of fuck all, isn't it just lovely to be reminded? Oh, the potential, the potential. How are my friends in the gods? You see, people, I love you, but this is commitment. This is commitment. I got the roots done for you. I said, I'll be having none of them looking down now. There'll be no dodgy roots here tonight. Okay, let's talk about me for about an hour and a half. I swear it's the most indulgent profession in the world. I'll tell you what happened to me. During the COVID years. I got older. Yeah, now we all got older, but I got older at a time when I really couldn't afford to, because I'm at a very particular stage in my life. Okay, here's what's happening to me. My looks are here, okay, and in about 100 yards, they'll be gone. Yeah, they'll be gone. I'm clinging to it all by a thread. Now, I'm not old. I know I'm not old, but I'm definitely not young. The problem is I'm not middle-aged either. I'm what they call a woman of a certain age. The problem with this term of endearment is that nobody really knows what it means. It seems to mean different things in different cultures, okay? There's a literary interpretation that says a woman of a certain age is a vain woman who cannot condescend to growing old. And I thought, yeah, that's me. That's me. I am literally throwing money at my face to try and stop it from falling into the sea. But if anybody asks me what I'm doing, oh Jesus, I'm drinking an awful lot of water now. Oh, gallons of it. And I'm sleeping. I am sleeping around the clock. Now, lads, Mother Teresa drank an awful lot of water. She was mad for the water. And she slept for India. It couldn't save her face. But the Irish interpretation of a woman of a certain age is really interesting, because look what we've done, lads, in the last 10 years. We've become so progressive, haven't we? Honest to God, with the referendums and the marriage equality. Yeah, the cycle lanes. The cycle lanes. We're practically sophisticated now. So it's no surprise that our interpretation of a woman of a certain age is still rideable, but you mightn't get a child out of her. Which I think we can all agree is a fairly winning combination. But the phrase originated with the French. The French say une femme d'un certain âge because they're French. That's how they speak. God help them. I don't know how they get by. Look, they seem to manage. Anyway, the French being the most sexually liberated people in the world, it doesn't mean still rideable to the French. It means a woman over the age of 40 who can still entice a young man into her bed. Yeah, that's just more interesting, isn't it? And of course it begs the question, well, could I? Could I entice a young man into my bed? Thanks very much. Well, if I was a betting woman myself, I'd stick a fiver on me, that's for sure. Each way, obviously. The much much more important question is, do I want to? Do I want to bed a younger man? Well, I've given it some thought. Okay, truth be told now, I've given it far too much thought. And I've come to this conclusion. What have I got to say to Harry Styles? What am I going to say to him? Like, seriously, I can picture him in my mind, no problem. I can conjure him up. Oh, I can see him in my kitchen like that, no bother. And I can kind of picture him going out the door, and I can hear myself saying, "Are you going to go out in that?" What about the hair? Would you give the hair a wash? No. Sure, the hair is ready to walk on its own. But look at. Here's the thing, I really do appreciate the French point of view. You know, fair play to them. I really appreciate that they think this is an important time in my life. For me and for women like me. Not just important, they think it's an erotic time in our lives because they think that we're well placed to initiate young men in the ways of sex. And I appreciate that. I just have zero interest in learner drivers. I know what I want, lads, now. You know, that's the beauty of getting older. I know exactly what I want. I want maintenance men. Lads that can do jobs for me. Because at any given time in my life, there's about a half a dozen jobs that need doing in the house. Painting and tiling and fixing and things that need to be hung, and this is what I want. I want lads that can do jobs for me. I actually get very excited if I even spot a maintenance man. I've got quite a large sitting room window now. In the middle of the lockdown, I spotted one across the road from my house. He was doing the gutters for one of my neighbours, right? He was up a ladder and he had a beanie on him. A beanie and a ladder. Well, the horn on me for this. I was out the door like a bullet. Straight over. I said, How are you? How are you getting on there? He said, oh, Jesus, I'm great now. How's yourself? I said, oh, look it, I'm great apart from the anger. I said, listen, you're doing a fabulous job on those gutters. Are you looking for more work? And he said, yeah, no, whatever you need, I'm your man. I said, great. I said, do you see that house across the road there? I said, with the aerial on the top of it. I said, that's my house. Could you get that aerial down without killing yourself? And he said, oh, God, yeah, no bother. I'm like a monkey. I thought that was a bit weird. I said, okay. Will we move on? I said, okay, now I said you can't hurt yourself. You can't fall and hurt yourself now because I have no insurance. And I'm looking at you and I don't think you've any insurance. And he said, no, I don't need any insurance. I'm very limber. I'm like a monkey. And I said, honestly, that's enough about the monkey. I said, what'll that cost me? I said, what would it cost me? And he said, I don't know, 60 quid. Oh, Jesus, I was ecstatic when I heard that. I had already had a quote for 300 quid from a lad who was going to come and take it down with a cherry picker. So I thought to myself, well, now, I've already had my cherry picked. I think I'll give the monkey a go. I said to him then, can you do other things? I said, could you do other jobs for me? Like, could you do a bit of painting? And, oh, God, yeah, I could do a bit of painting for you. I said, what about woodwork? Oh, Jesus, I got an awful Pinterest addiction during the lockdown. Anybody? The woodwork, lads, paneling. I got addicted to paneling, have I? I see a blank wall, I will fucking panel it like that. Tongue and groove, batten board, shiplap. There isn't a blank wall left in the house. I said, would you be any good with the woodwork? And he said, oh, God, yeah. He said, I'm a carpenter by trade. Oh, Jesus. This was like the second coming. So over he came to the house, okay, and the aerial came down and the panelling went up and it was all going very well until I asked him, could he do a bit of tiling? Mistake. Now, when I say tiling, I mean a tiny bit of a wall, right? The bottom half of a kitchen wall, literally. The top of it was fine, but the bottom had just gotten a bit grimy and it had never been tiled, and I had the tiles. Why did I have the tiles? Because builders can't do math. So, if you ever order any materials from a builder, like tiles, they will order 3 times what you need, and they will live in your garage or under your stairs for the rest of your fucking life. So I just thought, I'm going to be really clever now and I'm going to get this tiling done and it'll be grand. And I said, could you do that? Now, he was a bit of a stoner, okay, but lovely. And he said to me, I'll give that a go for you, Dee. And I said, okay, his name was Leon. Now, you touch of the Adam and Paul's, but very nice, very nice. I went off for the day, and when I came back, the bottom half of the wall that was meant to meet the top, there was a gap of about 2 inches. And I said, oh dear, what happened here, Leon? And he said, very sorry, Dee. I had to measure from the bottom up, and I'm just a bit off there. I said, yeah. Okay. Not to worry. I said, not to worry. You've done great work for me. I said, go on, sure. Look, come back to me in a couple of weeks and we'll work it out. A couple of weeks later, there was a knock on the door. Now, at this stage, I was fucking demented looking at the gap in the wall because I had had several people to the house who all came in and said, oh, this is very... What the fuck happened to your tiles? So I said, Leon, come in, love. Come in and look at the tiles. What'll we do about this? And he said, oh, yeah. I've been feeling very bad about that day. He said, would you go for a little cubed mosaic tile? You know, just a strip of them across the middle there. I said, yeah. Now, Leon, the rest of the room is just a plain white metro tile. Would it look a bit odd? He said, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. He said, the good thing is, when you come into the kitchen, it's not the first thing that you see. I said, no, it isn't. You come in and you see that wall and you go, oh, this is very, what the fuck happened to your tiles? He said, would you go for a strip of LED light? And then he said, actually, Dee, he said, I only called by to tell you that I'm thinking of going out on my own. Now, that threw me, because he was already on his own. He said, I was just getting some business cards printed and I wanted to run the name by you. He said, now, I asked about 10 people and 9 out of the 10 don't like it. I said, okay, that's not great, Leon. But anyway, go on. I said, go for it. He said, I want to call my business Death to Maintenance. I said, Death to Maintenance. And he said, yeah, it's death to maintenance for you because I'm going to do your maintenance for you. Oh, I said, right. Well, now that you've explained it, it's very good. It's very good. But it does sound a bit like a terrorist organisation. Have you considered running with, if you pay peanuts, you'll get monkeys? Here's the thing about poor Leon, though. I shouldn't have needed to hire a maintenance man at all because I married a Protestant. And they're handy. They're still handy. You know, that's just a fact. He knows how to do things. He has a drill, he has a toolbox, he knows how to use it. But he can never do it now. Jesus, he can never do it now. No, I'll do that for you later. I'll do that for you next week. The drill needs to be charged. Yes, that is a euphemism for everything. The drill needs to be charged. Would you be able? I can't cope with this. And I blame him. And the reason I blame him is that I am at the age where I am literally turning into my mother. And she blamed my father for Chernobyl. Oh, yeah. And other world events. 9/11, that was my father's fault. I was with them at the time, I'll never forget it. We were all watching the telly together when that plane flew into the second tower. My mother was giving my father daggers across the living room. And she said to him, I remember you asking me, where was the Pentagon? And he said, no, we were in Rome. And I said, where is the Pantheon? And she said, oh, yeah. When in Rome, ask where the Pentagon is. She liked to blame him for the weather as well. Yeah. Oh, she would regularly look at him and say, there's another shit day. But I knew that I was a woman of a certain age very recently. I had it confirmed for me, okay? I was at a party in the middle of all the lockdown madness. We were in a pod of 100. And the COVID jokes are still going. Anyway, this guy sidled over to me in the middle of the party and he said to me, you're in your 50s, aren't you? Now, I've heard some shut-up lines in my time. But I thought, wow, this could be special. So I said, I am, yeah, just. Now, I'm closer to my 40s, but sure, look at who's counting, apart from yourself. Fucking animal. And he said, I know. He said, no, you look great. He said, tell us this, would you say you're menopausal? Now, I'm rarely stuck for words, and I wasn't on this occasion. I said, are you well? Are you well? Like, are you actually well? I said, why in God's name would you ask me that question? And he said, well, you just seem very angry. Oh, now I am. Oh, geez, I am angry. Oh, fuck. Oh, I'd be angry a fair bit at the time. But I was at a party, and I was in flying form, so I was a bit thrown by this. And I said, okay. I said, well, I could be angry some of the time, but I said, how would you know? And he said, because I live with you. Oh, Jesus Christ. It was the husband. Oh, God, I got an awful land. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I had to madly backtrack because, like, what could I say? What could I say to him? I couldn't say, I'm so sorry. What did you say your name was again? Because it was too late. It was 20 years too late. So I had to madly backtrack, and I said, oh, right. I said, oh, you could be right. Oh, geez, you could be right. I said, tell you what I'll do. I'll look into it. I said, maybe I'll go and see a doctor, get my bloods done, something like that. And he looked visibly relieved. Till I said, would you fuck off now? You're cramping my style. I went home then, okay, and I did a bit of research, which means I Googled the word menopause symptoms, okay? The first thing that came up on the laptop in front of me was brain fog, lapses in memory. It said it is quite possible to forget your own husband. There are women out there who forget their own kids. They're up at the school collecting other people's children. It's chaotic. Look, it actually happened to me, right? At the start of the lockdown, I pulled into the school, right? Just before they closed the schools, I pulled in and I said to this child, Tig, I said, Tig, get into the car, love, quick. And he looked at me quite confused and he said, no, I don't think I meant to go with you, Dee. I said, Jesus, Tig, I'm double parked, love, will you get in? I was about a half a mile up the road and there was an Amber Alert out for Tig. And the school was ringing me wanting to know why I hadn't collected my son My own son. So I said, okay, this has gone too far. I better go and see a doctor. So I took myself off to see a doctor, a female doctor, obviously, because there is no way I am going to talk to a bloke about this stuff, okay? Not unless he is seriously hot. Hashtag gender equality. So I took myself off to see a female doctor. Oh, lads, it was quite disconcerting. For the first time in my life, the doctor was considerably younger than me. She was very blonde, very pretty, very South County Dublin. I fucking hated her on sight. I know there's an awful lot of hate for the women from South County Dublin. Weirdly, from women from South County Dublin. Anyway, she said to me, okay. Let's talk about you. What's going on with you? And I thought, God, give me the strength to deal with this woman. What's going on with you? I said, look, I don't know where to start. I said, there's loads going on with me, loads. I said, my memory is shot. I said, I can't remember. I said, I don't remember anything. I said, I don't know who I'm talking to. Names. I said, names are gone from me. I literally don't know who I'm talking to. I said, I've started numbering people now. I say things like, oh, look, there's 52 at 12 o'clock. I said, I could have early onset. Okay. What do you call it? She said, okay. Okay, that's good. I need more. I need to get a bit more. I said, okay. I said, okay. I said, I'm not just forgetting people. I said, I've gone off them. I've gone off people. They annoy me. I said, everyone and everything annoys me. I said, you're annoying me now and you've said fuck all. I said, okay. Okay, that's good. I need some more, okay? I need to give you more. I need you to give me a bit more. I said, okay, Blondie. I said, it's not just annoyance. I said, it's more than that. I said, you know what it's like? It's like a rage. It's like a rage. I said, it's like I have a rage inside me. It's like a road rage. Except I'm not on the road. I'm in the house. And I said, it can happen very, very quickly. I said, it can happen out of the blue. I can go from 0 to 100 very, very fast. I said, I'll tell you what, Blondie, I'll do it for you. This is the only way that you're going to understand how I feel, right? I said, I could come into the house at the end of the day, right? And I could come in, and I could have had a great day, by the way, perfectly fine. But I could then come in and I could say, how's everybody? How was school? Good? Did you have a good day? Good, that's great. And how was the office? Good. Right, so have you eaten? Or is the dinner on? Oh, it's loaded. It's a loaded question. But if I am met with a dozy response to the question, like this, huh? What? The dinner? Did you know what the dinner? I didn't know what the dinner was. Jesus Christ. Have you eaten? Or is the dinner on? Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't know what the dinner was. What? Did you know what the dinner was? I didn't know. That's it. I'm gone. I'm fucking gone. I go, Jesus Christ. I left it ready. A tray of food. Chicken, potatoes, chorizo, because you like it, you little prick. All you had to do was flick a switch on the wall, open the oven and put the food in, and then we could all be having our dinner. But did you bother? Did you fuck? And now we all have to wait an hour. We all have to wait an hour and everybody's hungry. And there's kids diving behind sofas and hiding behind chairs. Tig is in shock because we haven't given him back yet. And the cat is in an awful state because she can't cope with the shouting. In fact, I had to take the cat to the vet recently because she had digestive issues, and the vet thought she was a rescue cat. A traumatized rescue cat. I had to pretend that I'd smuggled her back from Gaza with me. I said, no, there's nothing wrong with that cat, I said. That cat comes from Gaza. She's just used to warfare. So Blondie was looking at me now. Quite a bit of fear in her eyes. She was getting more Joanne McNally by the minute, okay? It wasn't Joanne. She's fucking great, but she's not a doctor, okay? She's going, okay, this is good, but I need more. I said, more? What do you want from me, blood? And she said, actually, I do need to take your bloods. And I said, listen, don't panic. Back in the day, they thought women like you were witches. They burnt them at the stake, and they went up in flames like a dry old bit of kindling. But she said, I can fix you. The science is on your side. I'm going to make you a cocktail of hormones you're not going to know yourself. I'm going to give you a little bit of estrogen, a little bit of progesterone. I might give you a bit of testosterone. Lads, the way she was going on with the hormones, I was getting excited. Because I thought, oh my God, maybe I'll finally grow myself a decent pair of boobs. Right? This is what I thought. But what I said was, now, there's no danger I'm going to grow a cock. She said, no, you can't have everything. And I said, listen. I'm going to send your bloods off, okay? But in the meantime, you go home and pour yourself a large gin and tonic. Just do whatever you need to do to take the edge off yourself and the cat. You don't need to wait till 5 o'clock. Like, we're all sitting around waiting for 5 o'clock. I went home and I started doing a deep dive on the hormones because little part of my brain, the hippie part of my brain kicked into gear, and I started thinking, what you giving me now? What are these hormones? What you giving me? Because there was an awful lot of white noise about HRT and breast cancer and all the fear mongering that had been going on for years. And that's all been disproved, by the way. Yeah, because a man wrote that paper. Yeah. And he got it wrong. Yeah. Well done, Seamus. He set us all back 20 years. Fuck me. Anyway, look, there was reason when I started doing a lot of the research. There was good reason for women to be fearful back then, because mainly we don't really question where these things come from. You know, they tell us they're going to replace your estrogen, and you go, okay, with what? Where are you getting the estrogen? Well, back in the day, they used to get the estrogen from the urine of pregnant horses. Yeah, lovely. Mares, to be exact. And I thought to myself, well, now, I don't want to start neighing in the night. Himself is wondering would I be up for a bit, and I'd be going, nah! That was a refusal, by the way. So I started looking into a thing called bioidentical hormones. Anybody here done that? No? Few, yeah, God love you. We just took our hard-earned money and fucked it in the bin, didn't we? Because they're no better, the bioidentical hormones, but I had just decided I wanted organic estrogen. I was going to get a thing called bioidentical hormones, which cost 3 times the price of the regular HRT, which is all plant-based now. There's nothing wrong with it, so get it into you. Throw it down with the gin, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But I decided initially that I was going to have this organic estrogen because I was on some little airy-fairy trip, and she sent my bloods off to London. And I'd say you're thinking to yourselves, now, where do they get organic estrogen? Well, I'll tell you, they distill it from Billie Eilish and the under-17s camogie team. Anyway, Blondie sent the bloods off, and by the time they came back, oh my God, I was so sick of myself. I was so desperate for a fix that when the package arrived in the post and it fell onto the floor, I ripped it open really quickly. And it was full of little foil packets. And I opened one immediately and I put it on the inside of my thigh, like she told me to. Oh, lads, I swear to God, within minutes, it was as if I had taken speed. I went completely ballistic. Now, I was living in a 3-story house at the time, and I had a load of meetings that afternoon, and I was on my way out the door. I swear to Christ, I started taking the stairs 3 at a time. I was literally flying up. I was going up and down the stairs like not a fucking bother on me. And now at this stage of life, you don't get out the door in one go. You're out the door, you're back for your keys. You're out the door, you're back for your phone. You're out the door, you're back for your glasses. You're out the door, you're back for your other glasses. You're out the door, you think, oh, geez, I might have another pee. Like, it's just fucking endless. But I was hopping up and down the stairs. I was like Basil Fawlty. I was fucking flying it. And I was getting excited because I thought, oh my God, this is taking nothing out of me. I'm like a young one here now. And I thought, oh my God, maybe this is what I'm going to be like. A young one with an old head. And I thought I could live with that. And then I got into the car and I threw the car into reverse and I smashed it into the wall behind me. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I laughed. I went, ha ha! I didn't give a flying fuck. I was just so relieved to have energy and to be feeling alive. Off I went to the meetings. Lads, I was on fire at the meetings. Oh my God, it was amazing. I was full of ideas. I made Elon Musk look like a pig. And then a couple of hours later, I could feel myself coming down, back to my grumpy old self. And I thought, oh, Jesus, what fresh hell is this? So I pulled into a garage, and the garage man looked at the back of the car, and he said, oh, Jesus, what did you do here? You're after doing about 400 quid's worth of damage. So I came down with an awful bang. And I rang Blondie, and I said, Blondie, what did you give me? What did you give me? I was like a lunatic. And she said, well, what did you take? I said, I opened one of the foil packages and I put it on my inner thigh like you told me. And she said, oh my God, no. That is meant to be a week's supply. You were meant to put a pea-sized amount onto your thigh. I said, okay. Well, it was a lovely buzz. I said, do you think there's any way that you could up me dose? And she said, no, not unless you really do want to grow a cock. Then she said to me, your bloods came back. You were so depleted in estrogen. You were like a dead old plant. She said, you know when you go off on your holidays and you come back and all of your plants are dead, but you water them and some of them literally come back to life in front of your eyes. That's what you were like. It was just the estrogen hitting your body. I said, was it? It's just the estrogen hitting my body. And then the more she said the word estrogen, a penny dropped and I realised it was an anagram of misogynist. Isn't that amazing? And weirdly, hormone is an anagram of moany whore. But estrogen really is misogynistic. I mean, it never liked women. From a young age, from about the age of 12, estrogen looks at young girls and goes, I am gonna fuck you up. Slowly, over time. And you can fight me all you want. You can fight for the right to vote, the right to work, the right to equal pay. But I'll be here. Estrogen, a bad bastard. And my cousin Collagen is with me and he's vicious. He can't even look at a woman over the age of 40 without getting sick. This is how collagen looks at a woman like me. Look at... Look at the state of her. Oh, lads, the bloom is off the rose. Let's get out of here. She's a sinking ship. But because estrogen is a twisted psycho, he spots that there's a young one in the house. A young, nubile 12-year-old with potential. So he goes, I know what I'll do here. I'll take the estrogen off the middle-aged hag. And I'll give it to the young one. And that will really mess her up for a while. And what I'll do is, I leave the two of them living in the same house. And we'll see how that goes. It doesn't go well. There's a lot of crying. An awful lot of crying. I can see her heading out the door, and I can hear myself saying things like, are you going to go out and that? It's the same conversation that I would have with Harry Styles. Except this time, I'm looking at her and I'm saying, you really need to cover up, love. Every day can't be let's dress like a pole dancer day. And she's going, oh my God, you're so weird. You're such a Karen, oh my God. Oh my God. This is what we do. This is what we do, this is how we dress. We're just little misguided, boo-hoo, prettylittlethings.com. And she's orange. Our children are orange. And very unfortunately for my child, she has a green and white uniform. She's like a fucking tricolour going off to school. She was handy now during the Olympics. I hung her out the window when Kelly Harrington came home. That's my favourite joke, could you spot? Yeah. Every now and again I enjoy myself, it's gas. Is it any wonder the production of gin has exploded in Ireland? Every woman over the age of 40 is literally throwing it down her neck in a bid to replace all of the collagen and estrogen that's fecked off on her. That's a gin and tonic. Okay, that's the end of the menopause stuff for the 30% of men in the audience. 30 men. I wanted to talk to you about my dad. I lost my dad a few years ago, and when I was writing this show, he was very, very present in my mind. But in order to talk about him, I have to take you back to the start of the pandemic, which none of us want to do, but bear with me, okay? Do you remember when we were about 3 months into the madness, Paschal Donoghue came on the news one night, and he said, we are now entering a severe recession. Severe. Now, I'm not proud of that. That's not good. I've never mocked a speech impediment in my life. I have. In fact, I'm a little bit ashamed. I am. I'm not ashamed enough not to do it, obviously. Look at it gets a laugh, and I'm a whore for the laughter, as you know. But also the reason I kept it in was because I was so angry. I was so angry. Oh, it's very unfortunate, isn't it? Because he only has a problem with his ashes and his sheet, which is just, what are the chances that you'd be called Paschal and you'd be the Minister for Finance? You just couldn't catch a break. Anyway. When he said the sentence, we're now entering a severe recession, I was raging. I had this really weird, visceral reaction, right? I don't quite know where it came from. Well, I do, because I just thought, Jesus Christ, have we not just come out of a recession? I was thinking, have we not just dragged ourselves out of the last mess? Now, there's young people in the room tonight, not many, but there's a few. You mightn't have experienced a recession in your lives, but look, don't worry, there'll be one along in a minute. thinking to myself, this fucking recession, is he having a laugh? Like, this is just endless. This just seems to have been in my life for an awful long time. It first reared its ugly head when I was a teenager in the 80s. My poor parents were hit very hard by the 80s recession. Now, it would be fair to say that up until that point, I came from a fairly well-to-do background, okay? I was a very cosseted, privileged little white girl. Ooh, will we get a pony? Until we were suddenly up Schitt's Creek. It was, in fact, the premise for the show, Schitt's Creek. My father gathered us all in the kitchen and he said, "Okay, people, here's the story. We had a good run. We got you to your teenage years, but now we're absolutely smashed. So it's every man for himself, and good luck to us all." That's pretty much how it went, okay? And I don't remember giving it any more thought than that, to be quite honest with you, until I was doing quite a bit of press for this show, and a journalist said to me, "What was the best piece of advice that your father ever gave you?" Well, I was floored, absolutely floored. I couldn't think of anything. I was just completely thrown. And then I remembered, oh yeah, well sure, my father came from the generation of fathers that didn't really talk to you. No, it wasn't because they didn't want to. It was just because they didn't really know they should. It was very much a case of, what would you be talking to me for when you could talk to your mother? Now, I went to a boarding school and I was deeply bored in it. So I used to call home like maybe once a fortnight, and my dad liked to answer the phone by clearing his throat with a cough. Oh, look at, he would have been so popular in the COVID times. He would answer the phone like this. 8062. I'd say, "Hi, Dad," and he'd say, "Grania, Emer, Elizabeth, Deirdre." Deirdre, because he couldn't pronounce the name he gave me. I'll tell you that story in a while if I remember. I'd say, "It's Deirdre," and he'd say, "Deirdre, how are you, love?" And I'd say, "I'm good, Dad," and he'd say, "That's great, love. I'll just get your mother." I mean, that's just how it was for loads of us, right? That's just how it was. I actually called home once when I was in the middle of sitting my Leaving Cert exams, right? My father answered the phone in his usual way, 8062. I said, "Hi, Dad, Grania, Emer, it's Deirdre, it's Deirdre. Deirdre, how are you, love?" I said, "Oh, God, I'm not good. I had geography today." Nothing. Long silence. I could actually hear him thinking, Jesus, this is hardly news. Surely she has geography every day. So I said, "Dad, I'm doing the Leaving Cert." And he said, "Are you really? Are you really? Oh, well, the best of luck to you, love. The very best of luck. I'll just get your mother." Meanwhile, my mother was barefoot in Lough Derg for the 4th year in a row, praying for exam results and money. "Please send money." My father back on the phone then, "She doesn't seem to be here, love. She must be at the hairdresser's." Now, it's to be fair to my father, okay, it's not surprising that he didn't notice his own wife was missing for days. She was gone for days. The man was under an awful lot of pressure. He was trying to hang on to the house, pay back the banks, and keep 5 kids in private school. School that was so private, he didn't know what the fuck we were doing. So when it came to the subject of advice, and what advice did he give me, right? The only thing that I could ever remember my father saying with any regularity was, "Never trust the banks." Oh man, he hated the banks with a passion. They put him through hell. And when the Celtic Tiger fiasco happened and we bailed them out, he nearly lost his fucking mind. The man couldn't sleep at night. He had so much anger in his body. And he was in his later years at this stage, and he'd had a bit of surgery, and he was quite frail, and he had developed that shuffle that we all get if you've had a bit of surgery. Do you know that shuffle there? You walk like that. I had it after the C-sections. You're just shuffling along. You're bent in two because you're trying to protect yourself. I mean, basically everything about you is saying, this wouldn't be a good time to give me the bumps. And he would just shuffle around the house, and you would just hear, the banks! The banks! And it could come from any part of the house, because they lived in a big, old, rambly house, and he had a hobby, which was turning off all the lights and all the heaters. A hobby that we've all gotten into now. But here's the problem. Here's the problem with my father's advice. I'd love to honour it. I'd love to honour it. I'd love to boycott the banks and not use them. But I have a bank account. I kind of need it, so it's not practical. So instead of boycotting the banks, which is what I should do, when I have to go in, which isn't very often anymore, thank God, but when I do go in, I just go in with an awful lot of attitude. I just fucking walk in like I own the joint. I get that walk for myself. I get that Conor McGregor walk. Do that. You can't tell if it's confidence or chips on both shoulders. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, oh, yeah. I may have an account with you people. But I don't like what you do here, okay? I don't like that you made a Hames your own business and we had to bail you out, but you're still judging everybody else's business. I just don't think it's cool, okay? If I could just get my overdraft extended, that'd be marvellous. Or do I need to take my overdraft somewhere else? I'm actually telling you a lie when I say there was nothing that he hated more than the banks. There was one thing. He hated the rain. Yeah, the rain could finish him off. And he was Irish. He was an Irish man. And I used to say to him, Dad, you've got to make peace with this. This is where we live. But he didn't want to live here. He wanted to live in the Algarve. But only in May and September. Honestly, it was a bit of a hassle for him to be alive. You know, life annoyed him. It just fucking annoyed him. And he had a catchphrase. He used to stand looking out of the window going, it could be worse. You could be in the West. And my mother also had a catchphrase, which was, are you still here? And when I got my very first proper job as an actress, I was 19 years old, and I thought, I'll ring my father because this man needs kids that the banks, I disturbed him there now, the banks, was it the banks? Bit of PTSD there, and I understand. Oh, Jesus. I rang my father to tell him about the job because I thought, this man needs kids off the payroll ASAP. And he answered the phone in his usual way. He went, 8062. I said, hi, Dad. Grow on you, Emer, it's Deirdre. He said, Deirdre, how are you, love? I said, I'm good, Dad, I'm good. I said, I got a job. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, thanks be to God. Oh, thanks be to God. She got a job. One of them got a job. Oh, that's great, love, that's great. What is it? I said, it's an acting job. I said, with a company called Druid. I said, they're brilliant now. They're one of the best. And he said, one of the best. That's fantastic, love. It must be in London, is it? I said, no, it's in Galway. Nothing. Tumbleweed started blowing through the phone. Actual minutes passed before he finally said to me, Jesus Christ. You can't live in Galway. The rain! He said, you'll either lose your mind or you'll take to the drink. I said, Dad, congratulations is the word that you are looking for here. And he caught himself on. He said, oh, you're right, love. No, you're right, love. You're right, love. No, that's great news. That's great news. Now, I'm sorry to have to say, I won't be coming to visit you anytime soon. Because I have to tell you, love, the sun is in your eyes the whole way to Galway. You couldn't win, right? You couldn't win. And it's true. It's true. The sun is in your eyes the whole way to Galway. But why did you never invest in a pair of sunglasses? Nobody in the 80s in Ireland owned a pair of sunglasses. In fact, if you wore sunglasses in the 80s, it was presumed you were blind. Blind or thick, bit thick. Because everybody was broke back then, do you know what I mean? It would have been considered an awful extravagance to spend your money on sunglasses. Like, people just would have been looking at you like you were fucking mad. They'd be going, Jesus Christ, he's after spending his money on sunglasses. For God's sake, it's sunny now, but sure, it's not going to be sunny at 6 o'clock. It definitely won't be sunny tomorrow. For God's sake, suck it up and squint like the rest of us. Anyway, he was true to his word. He was true to his word. He never came to visit me for the 2 years that I lived in Galway. But he rang me. Oh, he loved to ring me. He rang me once a week because he was dying to ask me, well, love, is it raining? I swear to God, it used to kill me because for 2 years I had to say to him, yeah. It never stopped. It never stopped. And I used to feel so sorry for the women in Galway because they were very glamorous. They were very, very into their style. But God, they had to, every time they left the house, they were in a big plastic hazmat suit. Big old hood right down to the ground. And the hair would be destroyed the minute you'd leave the house. And John Frieda's frizzies came out at the time. Oh, it's still on the shelves. But I remember when it came out for the very first time. It was £7 for a little bottle of serum that size. And John Frieda's frizzies was the great white hope for Irish hair. Well, John Frieda should have been taken out and shot. Because no amount of frizzies could save the hair in Connacht. John Frieda was a Londoner. What the fuck would he know about slanty rain coming in off the Atlantic? If you think that my father was eccentric, and he was, I didn't appreciate how eccentric he was until I started writing about him. My mother is in her 80s now, and she is playing that card. She is playing that card for all it's worth. I think she's just come to the point in her life where she's decided, look it, if I just behave like a bit of a lunatic, there's not much they can do about it. Now, it's tricky. It's tricky because she's deaf in one ear and she doesn't listen with the other. So it's not easy. The phone, lads, is very hard. It's very hard. And I have to phone her because she doesn't live very near me, so I have to call her. And she answers the phone like this. Hello? I go, hi, Mum. Who's that? Grania Emer. It's Deirdre. It's Deirdre. Deirdre, how are you, love? And I'll start talking, and then she'll say, no. No, I'm not getting a word. No, not a word. Isn't that weird? From you, of all people, a performer. I go, okay. Now, she likes to listen to Cash in the Attic at full pelt, full whack, okay? So I go, would you turn the telly down, maybe? Would that? No, love, not a word. I'm not getting a word. Isn't that gas? You, a professional. Okay, Mum, okay. What about the hearing aid? Would you get the hearing aid? No, I'll tell you what I'll do, love. I'll give you my news. Perfect. Brilliant. I say, brilliant. You give me your news. Now, on this particular day that she was giving me her news, she was watching Wimbledon, okay? Now, I don't know if you remember this, but there was an episode of Wimbledon. I just love saying that for no reason. There was an episode of Wimbledon where somebody threw a racket and the ball boy got hit in the head. Do you remember that? Right. This was happening while my mother was giving me her news. This is exactly how the conversation went. She said to me, so, Jim's out of hospital and back at home, and as you know, they did up the house, but we don't think he's too happy with it because this fella's after getting hit in the head with a racket. Yeah. Because they painted everything grey, which I didn't approve of course, but sure, nobody wants my opinion, and if you're painting anything nowadays, it has to be grey. Grey doors, grey walls, grey chairs. He's after getting quite a smack in the head. And Deidre O'Kane said that she didn't like the grey, and that didn't go down well either, but they're suspending play now anyway. And I finally got the design in for your father's headstone. It seems to be almost impossible to get a piece of granite that isn't polished within an inch of its life. This fella's leaving the court now. And all I want is a nice big lump of granite that looks like it comes from Connemara. You know how much your father loved the West. And I wouldn't mind, but your man is after sending me a bill for the headstone, and part of the fee was for sourcing the stone, when it was me that found it from a lad in Donegal. This fella's parents are sitting next to royalty and they don't know where to look. So that's it, love. Jim hated the grey, and would you blame him? It was like leaving a hospital and going into a prison. Prison grey. That's what they should call that paint on the chart. It might put a few people off. Anyway, here comes Poirot now, love. You'll have to go. Okay, I tell you where the Deirdre came from. Do you want to know? Okay, my mother comes from Derry. Okay, so if you say my name with a Derry accent, it's Deirdre. So she calls me Deirdre. If you say Deirdre without the accent, it becomes Deirdre. So my father said Deirdre, my siblings said Deirdre. I said Deirdre because I thought it was a name. And then I went out into the world and I discovered very publicly, oh no, this doesn't work at all. I discovered it at the age of 7. My parents liked to take us to the Panto in the Gaiety up the road every Christmas. And Maureen Potter was the dame at the time. She was at the helm. And there's a point in the Panto, it still happens, it's just a tradition where the dame of the Panto will say, are there any boys and girls in the audience who'd like to come up onto the stage? Now, I was actually quite a shy child. I had absolutely no interest in going up on that stage. But my mother had other ideas. She liked to buy her tickets close to the front. So when this moment happened in the middle of the Panto, up we get the free sweets. Go up and get the free sweets for yourself, okay? Now, nobody was doing any parenting like we're doing now. Okay? There was nobody saying to any child back then, would you like to go up on the stage? Now, you don't have to, if you don't want to. There was absolutely none of that. It was get up to fuck and entertain us. We paid for the tickets. So the minute Maureen Potter was looking for children, I was kicked up onto the stage, and Maureen Potter said to me, and what's your name, little girl? And I said Deirdre, and she said, Geraldine. I said, no, it's Deirdre. And she said, Geraldine. I thought she's telling the whole of the Gaiety that I'm called Geraldine. Even at 7, I fucking knew that was wrong. So I said, no, it's Deirdre. Geraldine, Geraldine. Geraldine. This went on for quite a while. Till I could see Maureen Potter getting quite agitated. She was looking at me, she was thinking, this child is taking up far too much of my time. So she looked at me closely and she said to me, Georgie. Is it Georgie? And then she looked out at the audience and she said, it's Georgie, everybody. which got a lovely big laugh from the Gaiety audience and was my first experience of public humiliation. And I thought, oh, I think I could make a living out of this. How are you doing now? We're on the last leg. All right? Still with me? Okay. Here's one of my favourite bits of the show. I get to talk to you for a little bit and I get to ask you questions like, how many people here employ a cleaner? Oh, look it. I've been on the road with this show, lads, since April, and Irish audiences love this question. Oh my God, it makes them so uncomfortable. What is wrong with us? We've got a very weird relationship with having a cleaner. We're just a bit embarrassed by it. I think it's our history, subservience. We can't fucking cope with it, you know? Other people cleaning our dirt. It's not right. So there's a sort of reverse psychology going on with us. Do you know what I mean? We're overpaying and we're fucking grovelling to the cleaners. We're grovelling. Would it be okay? Would you take €15 cash into your hand an hour and I'd clean the house before you get here? Would that be all right? Now, if you haven't got a cleaner, you're only a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. But people are very judgy about it. Oh, she won't clean her own house. I have a fucking job. And don't fool yourself. If you've got a cleaner, you're still cleaning. Oh, you're still cleaning. Oh, the cleaning never ends. It never ends because it's the dinner and the putting away, the dishwasher and the laundry and the folding and the putting away and the dinner and the dishwasher, the laundry and the folding and the putting away and the dinner and the dishwasher, the laundry and the folding. As for fucking duvet covers, sweet fuck. I don't care if I never change another duvet cover for the rest of my days. Hold that corner. Fuck off, you ruined my life. I'm not cut out for it. I wasn't born to do it. I'll pay any amount for somebody else to do it. My cleaner was the person I missed the most during COVID. Michaela, she's Malaysian. I'm fucking mad about her. She leaves my house like a hotel. 3 months Michaela was gone. Do you remember the first 3 months, lads? And we were all in the house together. From morning till night. And the dishwasher went on 3 times a day. I thought if I have to make another bowl of pasta, I'm going to lose my shit. When Michaela arrived back at the house, I threw my arms around her. I said, Michaela, get in quick, I'm giving you a raise. She wasn't back with me 3 weeks when she said to me, Dee, I am going back to Malaysia to see my family. I said, you're what? You're what? I said, you can't, Michaela, you can't go. She said, Dee, I have to see my family. I said, Michaela, there's an awful lot of talk about family. But they're overrated. She said, Dee, if you love me, you have to set me free. I said, okay, Michaela, but I said, you have to find me somebody else. I said, find me another person. You have to find me another person. She said, okay, I tried to find someone for you. She came back to me a couple of weeks later and she said, okay, Dee, I have found someone for you. Her name is Monica. She has recently arrived from the Philippines, but she has no English, okay? So you must not speak to her, Dee, okay? You must not speak to her. I said, I'm not looking for a friend, Michaela. Can you just tell her what to do? Okay, I tell her what to do. But you must not speak to her, Dee, okay? I said, okay. The day that Monica was coming to work for me, I was going off to some telly job or other because I'm famous. And when you're working on a telly job, you can't have your phone on, okay? Because it interrupts with the technology and you can't have your phone on a set. So I don't have a hard, my house is not hard to find, but I have a stupid address, really stupid address. So I texted Monica and I said to her, my house is directly opposite number 27 with the red door. And then I gave her the air code and the full address and I went off to the telly job, right? And I completely forgot about her. And I didn't put the phone on till lunchtime. And when I did, there was 100 missed calls. So you're looking at the phone, you're thinking, oh, sweet Jesus, which child has split their head open now? What? Monica, whoops, Monica. Oh, fuck, what has happened here? So I rang her, and she answered the phone like this. She said, Monica? And I said, Monica? And she said, Monica? I said, you're Monica. You're Monica. And she said, Monica? I thought, oh, fuck. This went on. This went on for several minutes until she finally said, oh, Dee. I said, yes, it's Dee. She said, oh, Dee, it's okay. I couldn't find your house, but it's okay, Dee. I am here now. I have cleaned the bathrooms. I have cleaned the kitchens. You are the red door, 27, red door. I said, no, Monica. I live across the road. From number 20. It's okay, Dee, it's okay. I have cleaned the bathrooms. I have changed the sheets. These are neighbours that I don't even like. They're a bit off, and they're mank. They're mank because the house is mank. Not anymore. Cleaned and paid for by fucking muggins. I said, Monica, how did you get in? I said, you have to get out. How did you get in? She said, you said the key is under the plant pot beside the barbecue, like it is for every house in Ireland. So do you know what, lads? When you leave here, go on out and rob something lovely for yourselves. Because there's still a key under every plant pot in the country. In fairness, I've had incredible cleaners. I had a Chinese cleaner called Emma. She was phenomenal. The Chinese are very resilient, aren't they? Oh, Emma would have come to me. It didn't matter what the fuck was going on in her life. And there was always a drama. But she would always come to me. It wouldn't matter what was going on. Even when Storm Ophelia happened, she would, well, I'll skip on to another because that won't make sense. Well done, Deirdre. Just a little slip there. Very well done for spotting it yourselves. I'll just have a bit more gin. It's fucking exhausting, this. I'm not getting any younger, you know. When Emma worked for me, she had 2 children who were the same age as mine, right? They were about 6 and 8 at the time. And one day I was going to collect my kids from the school, and I just suddenly got very curious, which is another word for nosy, as to who was going to be collecting Emma's kids. And I couldn't help myself. I was just so nosy I couldn't help myself. And I said, Emma, how will your kids get home from school today? And she used to give me this withering look. Yeah, I kind of look like I was a pig. And she'd say to me, they will make their own way home. I said, all right, okay. All mine are lifted and landed. Lifted and landed to within an inch of their lives. Look at that little fucker on the PlayStation. Wouldn't lift a finger. I said, and will they make themselves a snack then when they get home? What'll they do? I got the look. I got the withering look again, and she said to me, they will have my dinner for me when I come home. Oh, Jesus, I thought, mine are ruined. Mine are fucking ruined. Oh, I knew they were ruined when my daughter asked me recently of a Sunday, what's for dinner? I said, roast chicken, and she said, bleh. I've gone off roast chicken. I said, you can't go off roast chicken. It's a winner chicken dinner. She said to me, I saw it in the fridge. It's a funny looking colour. I said, it's yellow because it's a corn-fed chicken. I said, if you were eating corn in the cob all day, it wouldn't take you long to look like Lisa Simpson either. And there's a window when you have kids that age. If you're in that, enjoy it now. Enjoy this window where you can buy them their clothes and they'll wear them, you know. Yeah. And you can buy all the mad things, all the sparkly little Doc Martens and the tutus, and they'll wear them. And then there comes a day when they just look at you and they say, I will never wear those. And your heart is fucking broken and you go, okay. You keep them because you think she'll change her mind. But they don't change their mind. And you're left with a big pile of beautiful, brand new clothes for the cleaner. So I said to Emma one day, Emma, would your daughter wear these? I got the look. She will wear them. Oh, right. Of course she will, yeah. She's got a mother who's going to tell her to wear them, so she's going to fucking wear them. Then when Stormophilia happened, do you remember Stormophilia? Oh, when they give you all the, batten down the hatches, don't leave the house, don't leave the house. You always get quite excited then. Not when they're telling you to fucking not leave for 2 years, but when it's a regular storm. When you get a regular storm, everybody gets excited. Ooh, like the fire, get out a bottle of wine. I was in the middle of all that. I got a text from Emma. I am on my way! Jesus Christ, Emma, will you go back? Go back! I'm so fond of her, but I just didn't want to spend the weekend watching The White Lotus with her. Do you know what I mean? It's always a cleaning lady, isn't it? It's never a cleaning man. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Here's a conversation that happened in our house recently. I said to the husband, is a cleaning man an oxymoron? And he said to me, or just a moron? And then my son came in and he said, what's an oxymoron? Is that drug you keep talking about that's in that show that you're watching? You are amazing. Can I just say, I did my first solo show ever in this theatre 22 years ago, and I suspect some of you were probably there. So thank you for sticking with me and supporting me for so long. It means the world to me. Do you want one for the road? You do? Yeah. I could walk off, but honestly, there's a risk. There's a risk. I could go and you might go. I've just worked too hard. I'm not taking the fucking risk. I leave you with this. You know you're getting older, right? For sure. When you're watching the news and you think, Jesus, I think I have the hots for Emmanuel Macron. That's a new low. That was a new low for me. Because he's not particularly attractive, not really. But he never liked Boris Johnson when he had the job. He never liked him, and any opportunity he got to give him a fucking dig, he took it. And I found that very attractive, did you? But also, we know that Emmanuel Macron likes an older woman. His wife, Brigitte, is 23 years older than him, and I'm all for it. Major feminist here. But I am worried about Brigitte. I can't stop worrying. I can't stop looking at her. I'm looking at her face. I'm looking at her knees. I'm going, oh, Jesus. How is this going to pan out? Because he's 45 and she's 68, which is doable. That's doable. I'd say she's very tired. But look, it is doable. There's no doubt about it. But when he's 55, she'll be 78. And when he's 65, she'll be dead. She'll be dead. Now, when I say to you that Brigitte is on my worry list, I have an extensive worry list. Because I'm a woman. This is what we do. I could be awake in the night going, I wonder how Oscar Pistorius is getting on in jail. How's his family? How's her family? Would you ever get over it? And on, and on, and on. I swear to God, Boris Becker came into my head the other night. I didn't get a wink. Not a wink. But the other thing that I love about Brigitte and Emmanuel is their names, lads. If I said to the whole of this room, try and think of two of the sexiest names you've ever heard of in your life, you'd go straight to the French and you'd probably say Brigitte and Emmanuel, which, ironically, in Irish, is Bridget and Damon. Thank you, I love you so much. So good to be back. Thank you. So much. You are amazing. I love you. It's so good to be back. Thank you.